Good evening, everyone. It is 6:01, Monday, March 3rd, and with that, we'll call to order the meeting of the Bike Walk Commission. Thank you for joining us today. In attendance right now, we have Nicholas Pappas, Becca Stoll, and myself, Emily Berman as chair, joined by Greg Pacelli, excuse me, and Darlene Bird. Um, our items, we will commence, I guess. Oh, I'm so sorry. I thought I had this open in front of me was our agenda. One moment. I think we'll start the meeting with public comment. So if there's anyone, I see we do have some um, attendees from the public that have joined us tonight. If you would like to introduce yourself or say something to our commission, now is your opportunity to do so. And I do see we have Nancy Rosette with her hand raised. So Darlene, if you don't mind, I will ask for you to unmute Nancy.
Nancy, you are unmuted.
Thank you. My name is Nancy Rosette. I'm a board member of the Friends of the Norwalk River Valley Trail and the Norwalk lead for that board. And I know later on your agenda, you're going to talk about the maintenance of the trail in Norwalk in particular. I think the Riverside portion that opened up officially last fall. No, sorry, last spring. Anyway, I would like to just give you a little bit of history and background to what's going on there. As you may or may not be aware, in the other 4 towns in which the NRVT runs, we are responsible for raising the money, getting bids for both the design and the construction of the trail and the maintenance of the trail. We're very fortunate in Norwalk that from the get-go, the city has taken over all of those functions. And in particular, it's TMP within the city government that goes out and gets the money, sends out the RFP, oversees the construction. And they did that on the newest section of the trail as well. The problem became after the trail was officially opened, we all noticed that the grass was starting to grow. And from the point of view of the NRVT, we had always said, well, you know, the city is responsible for everything to do with the trail, including the maintenance. However, the city has become really 2 different entities within the city. And the rest of the trail in Norwalk is either on public roads and sidewalks or through public parks. So until that newest section was opened, Rec and Parks had always maintained it. Well, the Riverside Trail does not fall into that category. It's not in a city park. So Rec and Parks said, well, you know, we didn't think it was our responsibility to maintain it. And TMP doesn't have the ability to maintain the trail. They don't have the crews, they don't have the equipment. So we said, uh-oh, we have a problem here. And we have been working together with the DPW, Rec and Parks is part of DPW, to work on getting the grass trimmed. And we pretty much managed to get through last summer and fall, and probably didn't do as good a job as any of us would have liked due to limited resources on both sides, but we were able to keep the grass trimmed. And I know I never thought about shoveling snow off the trail because quite frankly, we haven't had a whole lot until this fall. And unfortunately, the NRVT doesn't really have the ability to remove snow. And in fact, we don't remove snow on the trail in any of the other 4 towns. So we are currently negotiating with the city about how to continue to maintain that section of the trail, both for mowing and for snow removal. And we are meeting with DPW in a couple of weeks. So I know it's a frustrating situation for everybody involved, but I would ask those on the commission and those who have spoken to the commission if you could hang tight for another month or 6 weeks. We hopefully will be able to work something out with the city where The city, in cooperation with volunteers from the NRVT, will be able to adequately maintain the trail. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you so much, Nancy, for sharing that background and information. And yes, we do have on our new business on our agenda later is just to review those requests that came into the commission and what residents can do going forward with that. So thank you for the background and your work on this with the city of Norwalk.
Oh, thank you.
Great. And with that, I will open up to any other attendees from the public that would like to speak or introduce themselves to our commission. Please raise your hand. And then I guess with that, I will move forward. Manny, I see you've joined us, Manny Salgado, another commissioner. So we do have a quorum. So for our next item here, which is the acceptance of the minutes, the February minutes, I would like to entertain a motion if there are any commissioners that would like to approve our February minutes.
I'll motion to approve the February meeting minutes.
Thank you, Nick. Can I have a second from Manny or Becca?
I second.
Thank you, Manny. All in favor? Becca, thank you. Okay, meeting minutes are approved. Thank you, Darlene. Our next item, and I'm very excited to introduce for the Sono Rail Trail, we have guest speakers Melissa Murray and David Tattersall. I believe, Darlene, you have them both here, and I will hand it off to you for a presentation about this exciting new project.
David, are you?
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. We cannot see you, but we can hear you.
Yeah, so I think I need to be upgraded to have presentation privileges in the Zoom. Right now, I think I'm just a webinar participant.
Okay, let me move you over as a panelist. Give me 1 sec.
No problem.
Yes, and I would need to be moved over too. I mean, I guess I can just speak because David is showing the PowerPoint though. So either way.
But yeah, I guess while we're being moved over, I guess Melissa and I can use yourself. Oh, I've got it. Join as a panelist.
Okay. Hi there.
I'm back. Okay. So in this case, I guess I can just start sharing my screen. Let me share this, and then I'll resize the window so it looks a little bit better. Cool. Well, thank you very much for having us at your meeting. My name is David. I live in South Norwalk, kind of down near Manresa area. Melissa, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi, I'm Melissa Murray. I have been working with David, who we met through Sustainable Streets Norwalk. I also was briefly on council, and we spoke about this idea while I was on council, and I thought it was really worth following up with. So I proceeded to introduce David and other supporting Sustainable Streets members to my network, and it took about 6 months, and we're now kind of in the ideation concept stage and ready to present it. But David's been really following up the concept, so I'll let him explain it all to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And I say we come here in precisely zero official capacity. We are just citizens rabble rousing. But we have been, it's been very awesome just like meeting everyone from across the spectrum, basically, and kind of hearing the excitement about this project. So what will the Sono Rail Trail be? So it's a concept we have for a public park that runs on an old railway line alignment that starts at South Norwalk Station. If you've ever parked on the Henry Street side, and then you've noticed there's a bunch of like mature trees and a bunch of gravel at one end of that outdoor parking lot. That used to be where a railway line actually turned off the main New Haven line and then went down the coast all the way to Wilson Point. Now it is abandoned. It's kind of littered with trees, and it's basically cuts a corridor all the way from South Norwalk Station down past near where Space Cat Brewery is, down to where the new school is going to be. and all the way onto Wilson Avenue. And so kind of our vision here is to, and our concept is, yeah, have this new public park that connects the neighborhoods, schools, public housing, businesses, and major transit hubs all together within a very easy kind of 5 to 15 minute safe journey. Especially this comes, I think, a lot more into focus when you think about the new school coming in. Like, we really believe that this kind of corridor could provide many safe and clean and green journeys to and from the new school, both for students, but also people who work there, who are visiting there. But also just kind of opens up new connectivity around the neighborhood, especially in a neighborhood where connectivity is pretty car dominant right now. And if you want to walk, it can kind of be pretty tricky. So in total, it'll be about 1.5 miles of new potential park. So I have a couple of like, I mean, they're probably speaking to the choir here because, you know, this is the Bike Walk Commission, but just want to flash up a couple of comparisons and what we really think represent kind of what we could have over here in Norwalk. So the city of Kirkland in Washington pretty much has an identical size population to Norwalk, and they've been working on something similar to this along an old freight line. It's called the Cross Kirkland Connection. I put some pictures here to show you kind of like what this looks like, right? So you've got kind of a more kind of NRVT style, like rural trail, but then kind of when you're going through the center of the town, you actually have kind of a trail that weaves its way between commercial developments and offices and has parks and breweries and stuff like that along the way, kind of similar to what we have over in South Norwalk. Another trail that recently, in the last few years, opened, it's called the 606 in Chicago, or the Bloomingdale Trail, and this is an old elevated railway line that runs through a neighborhood. And so kind of like the High Line, but this is more kind of like a down-to-earth neighborhoody version of that, you know, where this basically just shows you kind of what it can look like to have a greenway that cuts through a pretty dense neighborhood, so people can kind of bike and walk and kind of get around without being down on the street level amongst all the traffic. Here is a map of Stono. I just wanted to show you kind of the alignment like as it exists. And so this pink bit you see here, this kind of little S shape, this is where you can see where the old railway leaves Stono Station, and it pretty much heads south and then curbs gradually. If you've ever been sat in the garden at Space Cat Brewery, it's pretty much right there. That retaining wall is where it ran through, and then it curves down, and then you basically pass where the new school at Old Hatch and Bailey Yard. And at that point, the railway line then runs kind of along where Wilson Avenue would run, and we believe there's actually some like metal tracks still down there. If you want to go and have a look, so we're going to try and find those. But what we're actually really thinking is we're seeing a lot of the kind of development happening. I mean, there's obviously all the stuff happening in Manresa, but also just like how dense this neighborhood is on the right-hand side here. And it's kind of, you know, if you're in any one of these neighborhoods on, you know, where this green line is, and you want to go just walk to the new school, for example, you know, that would be like a 25-minute journey around a bunch of, you know, like kind of dusty streets, past trash yards and stuff like that. And so we think kind of there is a lot of potential here to actually kind of add a boardwalk that goes across this marsh and then connects kind of the east and west parts of this neighborhood. So this is what we kind of envision as like kind of the first phase. So you have like this pink phase, which goes kind of, it's on an like elevated berm, more like kind of your High Line style railway alignment. And then when you get towards kind of Wilson here, where you've got like the outdoor beer garden there and things like that, find a way to basically have a boardwalk that cuts across, connects up to Woodward Park. And then you can, I mean, you don't need much imagination to basically think this is going to be great for accessibility to the new park that's going in down here. So this is kind of like what we're thinking. And there's obviously also like huge potential to connect into all the other concepts and proposals and projects that are going on, kind of like with the Fairfield County Greenway and stuff like that. So where are we? So the first thing that we want to stress is this is not a new idea. The railway's been there for 80 years, you know, like, so as long as it's been there, like the idea of moving things on that corridor has existed. More recent, actually, we believe the railway got torn up in the 80s. More recently, though, even like 10 or so years ago, you know, like the idea was floated like, hey, like should this turn into a railway line? And for various reasons, kind of like it never really took hold for kind of just, you know, just like where the city was at that stage and stuff like that. But we believe now the time is right. If you look at the surge in density going in around the station, you look at what's going on in Manresa, you look at kind of all the developments in the corridor, literally on the corridor straight line between them. You know, all the bits are coming together to like have critical mass that we need to have kind of a a safe pedestrian and bike greenway connecting all these wonderful amenities together. A special shout out to TMP. I think Jim has been working on trails for a while, and also was one of the kind of early proponents of this idea. So thank you very much for your support on this. So where are we with this particular project? So yeah, so we believe now the time is right, and so we're spending kind of the first half of this year just engaging with everyone, socializing the idea. We've engaged with almost all the property owners along the way. Luckily, a lot of the property owners who have bought portions of this land now, it's in their interest for this to be developed this way, and so kind of we're having productive discussions there. Obviously, a lot of details, but there's generally it feels like the consensus is this should be built. We're engaging with the community, stakeholders, elected officials, city employees, the public, and we have a very, very long to-do list of contacts. So if you haven't heard from us yet, sorry, we're getting through it. It's been very busy. So yeah, so the kind of the first half of this year that we're thinking just mainly do kind of a lot of engagement, and then hopefully if we can build enough consensus, then the second half of the year we do want to try and kick off and let out a contract to actually do some preparatory kind of feasibility study or design work. And obviously coming along in parallel to all this is fundraising. Later stages, we know there'll be a construction phase, but we also upfront thinking about the maintenance phase. It's kind of I think the comments about the NOAT maintenance was a good reminder to us. This is something that it has to be thought about up front for a trail, and so we're really trying to think about that up front. Funding wise, we're assuming we're mostly on our own. Let's be realistic for the next 4 years. But we are very willing and very excited to fundraise for this kind of project. It's getting a lot of excitement from anyone we speak to. So we're cautiously optimistic that we can fundraise. And so yeah, if there's a call to action, kind of how can people help? So we're working our way down a long list of people to talk to. If you haven't talked to yet, please just email us at board@sonorailtrail.org. That's a fancy way of saying David, Melissa, and a third board member. But we're really grateful to everyone who's been advising so far. Thank you so much. And yeah, we're excited to hear literally from anyone, whether you're just kind of interested in the idea and want to copy the slides, or if you are have some ideas about how this should go. And we also just about Instagram as well. Not much is on it yet, but shout out to that. So that's the end of kind of my content. Melissa, what did I miss?
I would just say one of the things that's different about the Sono Rail Trail being one that it's only 1.5 miles is it's a little bit, people say, oh, it's like the NRVT. We're definitely smaller, but we're also going to have businesses dotted along it. So the process of kind of getting set up is somewhat similar to the NRVT, which I know some of you are familiar with, but it's got that complexity of that these are business owners, and it would be on a lot of their right of ways. So they have not given us express permission yet. We're working on that, and everyone's going to have different parameters, but that also means some good news, like they'll maintain that portion themselves. Likely they'll, we'll get down into the the fine details of that, but that presents some interesting and maybe a little bit easier ways of maintaining it. So that's helpful. And also just the main focus really is that safe route to school, going up to the new Sono school between the back of Sono train station and the Sono school, where the MLK Boulevard project, which is enormous and wonderful and great, and it's going to be starting soon and is a priority, that's going to be the front of the train station. So we're really doing that backside. I feel like we're kind of the cherry on the project, on all the projects there. But with that, I would just say, does anybody have any questions that we might have missed?
Thank you, David and Melissa. I'll open it up to our commissioners, and thank you for joining Christine Bisegli and Julia Green. Any commissioners with questions for Melissa and David? I guess I have go ahead.
I just want to say a comment. This looks it's like a very exciting project, and to hear about it and hear some of these details that I wasn't aware of is definitely exciting. So it's really cool. Thank you for sharing.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I did have a question for you both. So you mentioned 1.5 miles of new potential park. Is that, I know, we're not even at the feasibility study, but is the idea that the trail itself would be considered a park, or is there park space along the rail trail that you're looking for?
In terms of like, yeah, what it's classified as legally and who like runs it and stuff, we don't know yet, kind of like that. I'm saying park kind of as a newbie citizen here, like I'm not sure if that implies something, but one thing I would say is, yeah, like along the alignment, because it's basically a curve going through an area where roads are mostly straight. There are portions where it gets a little wider and a little narrower, and so there are a couple opportunities along the alignment where we think, like especially when it's branching off from the railway line, kind of at the train station, it actually creates a little triangle, right? And so I think there's a lot of these little triangles that, we would advocate to turn into like parks and just like areas for the community to gather and sit and things like that.
Yeah, I definitely think, it is a safe route and a car-free pedestrian route, but also obviously the hope of all this is always community engaging with each other. We have a crisis of loneliness. We want kids to get out and play. And so wherever there are little spaces, and some of the stakeholders we've talked to have already pointed out this might be a nice microforest, but this might be a nice area for cultural art, and this might be a nice area for some other activity or benches. So we're definitely hoping to create community engagement. And David wrote the mission statement broad enough. So one thing that we learned when we were talking to other trails around the state and other 501c3s is you have to write your mission statement kind of broad enough, so that you're not dictated to just creating, say, a roadway, that you can create that space for engagement. And so we've left that open. I'm sure that will come down to budget and feasibility, but the hope is absolutely a place for engagement. And I will also say we also are, some of the stakeholders we've talked to we've talked to the Recs and Park Department, and gotten some, obviously not commitments because no feasibility study has been done, but some just general advice of what to look for. And so that's been on our radar and it's going to help us brainstorm. And we'll keep going back to them as well to get their advice as we go further.
That's great to hear. And I'm really excited that you're collaborating closely with TNP and Parks and Rec and getting this in front of them. Because like you said, it's an enhancement to a lot of the work that's going to get done on MLK Boulevard and that sort of connection there. I also love what you said about the Safe Routes to School program. I know we're big advocates of that. So having that as another, just a benefit of this trail potentially would be incredible to see. So thank you. Any other commissioners with questions? If not, I think we will move on to our next item. Thank you so much, David and Melissa.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for
Have a good
coming,
night.
guys.
You too. Okay, next on our agenda is the NRVT maintenance request. At the start of our call, we had public comment and Nancy joined and talked or gave a little background to the work actively being done by NRVT leadership. The reason I have this on our agenda is because I was approached and emailed with some maintenance requests for a specific segment of the trail that was, iced over, snowed over, and I've added this just to recommend again to those individuals or any other members of the public that want to use the NRVT trail but find that there's an issue, to report it using the Click and Request app. If you Google Norwalk Click and Request app, you can download the app, you can submit it online. I highly recommend to use that to report any issues that you have with any walkability along either the NRVT or any other areas consisting of that. Do any other commissioners want to add to this item? Oh, Becca, go ahead.
It would be super helpful for me. Is there anybody who can give us like a map or a graphical representation of which section of NRVT we are talking about? Or like cross streets for it or something?
Do you mean the ones with the issue or just like in general, or what do you mean?
Like the section that we're talking about that's not maintained by the city or any of that stuff.
Yes, I don't have that on hand right now, but I can find out
So,
the
so
section.
Emily, I could jump in real quick. So Becca, the portion that, that we've been discussing is basically the portion just north of Union Park, which, District 1 does maintain the Union, Park section, which is just north of Union Park South, in the vicinity of Mott Ave. And then after Union Park, north all the way to 123 New Canaan Avenue, that's the section that is currently not maintained. And that's the section that we're discussing.
Great. Yep, I'm looking at that on Google Maps. That helps.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Becca. Any other last questions on that item? Okay. And moving along to our next item, and Becca, I'm hoping you can introduce this one. This is the walk bridge construction on Fort Point Street closures and just some background on that.
Sure. So these were two separate but related items that came up for me. The first came to me in an email from Eversource announcing some upcoming road closures in relation to renovations and reroutings that are being done for the walk bridge project. And the map that was given, let me pull up the email so I can, quote correctly. The email that I received, which I believe just went out to people who had signed up for emails. Bear with me, I just got in the door. Here we go. Dear neighbor, we are working on the transmission relocation project. We'll begin drilling. Due to traffic considerations, work will be 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. Fort Point Street will be closed, and traffic will be diverted around. And we received a map delineating the detour, which did not specify whether the detour would affect pedestrians or cyclists. So I wrote back to ask if they'd be affected. Pedestrians will not be affected, and cyclists should follow car traffic. But I sort of pushed back and said, please plan to include that, information from the jump. Please don't make me ask for it. And then the second instance which came up was in a meeting of the East Norwalk Neighborhood Association. We were discussing the Mill Pond apartments, which are being built on Cemetery Street, where the Wells Fargo used to be. And those, I believe, are hoping to see their first tenants come in this summer. And I raised a lot of concern about, are there going to be adequate crosswalks? Because if the whole idea is that this is going to be transit-oriented development and people will be able to easily walk and bike and roll from these apartments to the train station, local shops, etc., the current state of crosswalks in East Norwalk is very much inadequate. And again, I was sent a very helpful map that I believe Diane Cece dug up for me, showing where the crosswalks are going to be, which was exciting. But again, I'm wondering, I feel like this information is having to come to us secondhand instead of the way it should be coming, which in my opinion is from the city, alerting the affected constituents that these things are happening. So those are my sort of thoughts on those matters. Thank you.
Thank you, Becca. I guess backing up to the Fort Point Street closer with the walk bridge program, those announcements that came from Eversource and you reached out and got the response. Is that
Correct.
something, Greg, that the city works with Eversource? Does TMP have direct contact with Eversource to advise them, especially with completes our ordinance, making sure even if it's applicable to construction, how do we effectively communicate not only just, navigating car traffic, but also pedestrian and bike traffic as well for
Yes,
street closures?
we directly coordinate. This is all part of the Walk Bridge program, which is run by DOT, but the city also is well versed with what they are proposing, especially it's on our roadways. So we're directly aligned with everything, and we provide comments back to them on detour plans throughout this section and throughout all sections that they're going to be having disruptions through. So we definitely have our hand in it, and we're certainly involved. This item was actually presented to the Traffic Authority last week, and it was approved by the Traffic Authority as it is needed. And and Becca, as you had presented the the map that you had proposed, that Eversource, I believe, shared with you. Is the full detour plan, which does allow for pedestrian access through that 4 Point Street section where vehicles have to be rerouted onto Reynolds Avenue and then onto South Smith Street. So there is pedestrian access that goes through there. And then this, for cyclists through this area, we don't have any dedicated facilities, but they would be advisable, as they said, to just follow vehicle traffic through this section because there is they are going to be moving a lot of equipment around, and they will, protect the pedestrians on the side of the road, within the sidewalk area there, with some barriers and whatnot. But for the cyclists, they should follow the route of the vehicles through here. If there was dedicated facilities, we would certainly work to, incorporate that. And that's something that we have been doing a lot more of and coordinating with utility companies. Anytime they get an encroachment permit, they have to submit a detour plan to us so that we can review it. And one of the items that we always, are pushing for is making sure the safe accessibility of pedestrians and cyclists through the detour areas and not just for vehicles as well. So that is something the city is involved in, not only on our own city roads, but also with, any DOT related work that goes in where it affects city roadways, as in this case as well. So, trying to get, word out as much as possible to people. But again, this is Walkbridge and they kind of dictate their schedule since they are coordinators of this project. And it is obviously a large scale project and it's ever changing all the time. But we try to, ensure the safety of all roadway users as we do throughout the rest of the city as well.
Totally. And I would say like the detour and safety is actually not my primary concern. It's the dissemination of information. Like if the city can say, when you send this email, you have to write in it, pedestrians will not be affected. Cyclists should follow the car detour. Because otherwise people might get the wrong impression that they can't get through there, that they have to reroute themselves.
Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, the utility companies themselves, they don't look at it from the standpoint of how everybody is affected. They just want to get in, get the work done and call it a day.
Sure. It's part of pushing away from car centric thinking, right? It's a way that the city can lead in saying, hey, not everybody is going to drive.
Right.
And
right.
everybody needs to get through.
And even on that as well, in perfect world for them, they would just close off the entire roadway in general to all vehicles altogether if they could, to make it easier for them. But we still have to allow some accessibility in certain circumstances. So, so I guess for the messaging portion of it, I'll make a note of that and talk with the team, when we do communicate our detour plans, to ensure they are communicating that, to the rest of the public when they do, relay that messaging out to, residents such as you in their email correspondence.
I really appreciate that. And also, just talking about it now made the thought occur, are any bus lines affected by that road closure? Or I guess if it's only 7 p.m. to 7 a.m., then that is outside of the current window that NTD even runs, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, that's another, kind of moving piece is NTD as well. And I don't believe there is an NTD route because I don't know if the bridge is pretty low through there. So I don't know if I believe the buses don't go this way. But usually in any case, we always look at to make sure that transit is not affected. And if they are, we bring NTD in to ensure that it doesn't disrupt any of their routing.
Awesome.
Great. Thank you, Greg and Becca. Do any other commissioners have questions on the East Avenue project or that 4 Point Street announcement?
Well, I don't know if it's I haven't checked the agenda for today, but it was updated, but kind of along the same lines. The timing is kind of perfect because of the Mill River Pond project that's going up. I was just curious. I had two pedestrian-centered questions about East Norwalk. I know in my snooping around in the past, there's plans for East Norwalk to be transformed into a village, right? So there's like a potential plan of it having like sidewalks and becoming this like more walkable village type of place. And so, but I was curious if that's still a plan of where things are in that plan, and then also, yeah, with basically the same question Becca had with Mill River coming in now. Like, are there any plans to enhance pedestrian walkways, especially those leading to the train station?
Yeah, so both great questions. So obviously going to the One Cemetery Street development, that's obviously something that was approved by the Planning and Zoning Commission for that development, and obviously they're well under construction for that. And this, all this information, if any have any questions on any development throughout the city, on the Planning and Zoning page, there's a development webpage. So it looks at whether they're in the process of applying or they already had approvals, such as in this case. All those documents are available on the website, on the Planning and Zoning webpage. So you can always access any of that information, especially once it's presented to the Planning and Zoning Commission from there. So that's where like this plan sits, and along with any other development plans. As far as the approvals for this, it obviously was approved by Planning and Zoning. There were various inputs from independent engineering consulting firms that looked at all the traffic volumes that approved it. TMP, DPW were all heavily involved in this process as well. Right now, as part of this project, we, as included years ago in the East Norwalk TOD project, there is that East Norwalk Village District, where they had some high level conceptual plans for this area. And as part of the Walk Bridge program, DOT is working alongside with the developer at One Cemetery Street, to put together, a combination of improvements, with the new improvement along with DOT's Walk Bridge proposed improvements, which go up East Avenue as well, which will include new sidewalks, crosswalks. Because right now you can't even get to the cemetery in the center, of this, pseudo roundabout triangle, if you will. So it's kind of on its own island, but as you can see, the enhanced crosswalks throughout the area, dedicated bike facilities, and it will also include improved signage, and just better flow of traffic, and also overall just safer conditions for all roadway users as well. So this is kind of a, private, you have public, you have the state DOT as well, because it is State Route 136 that wraps around Cemetery Street. So there's a lot of moving parts to this, but they will be looked to be tied into together. It's kind of like a comprehensive project into one. But as you can see, the developer is well underway with their work, and they'll be advancing this, in the near future.
Cool. Wow. No, thank you. That's actually really, really helpful to hear. I had another just side note question related to this in a way, but and I know winter's almost over, so I feel like I'm a little late to the game, but like I hear a lot of information about like who's responsible for cleaning up sidewalks after like a snowstorm or when there's ice and that sort of thing. And so I just wanted to ask you, to dispel any myths, basically, because I know some people are like, well, it's the owner, and they can get fined by the city. But then walking towards the train station, I noticed there's a lot of segments that property owners did not clear out, or even like along Mill River, pond, the One Cemetery development, it was very icy there. So I was just curious, like at the end of the day, who's responsible for those areas? So I just thought I'd ask to dispel any myths.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's a great question, and we get asked this question all the time whenever, especially we're proposing new sidewalks on any street, throughout the city. So as part of an ordinance that was passed years ago, it's up to the property owner to clear sidewalks at the frontage of their home, even if the sidewalks are within the public right of way. We always get comments from residents saying, well, why it's not on my property, why do I have to clear the sidewalk, which legitimate, and this is an issue throughout the country, really. Sidewalks that are, it's difficult to clear sidewalks, it's more time consuming. It would take a large contingency of workers to clear sidewalks throughout the entire city. So as written in the ordinance, it is the responsibility of the homeowner, the property owner, to clear the sidewalk. that's in front of their house. And there is a grace window of 24 hours after the snowstorm is completed to clear that snow. So, you know, Public Works kind of oversees that ordinance as far as finding people that don't clear their sidewalk. You know, the thing around here is, you know, 24 hours passes, you know, then by the time it's alerted, you know, by the time it's kind of processed, a lot of times the snow is melted already, you know, especially around this area. You know, this year we did see some colder temperatures, so the snow did linger and we had some ice that lingered a little bit. But it is the responsibility of the homeowner to ultimately clear the snow and safe passage for pedestrians.
Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you, Manny. Becca, I see you have your hand raised.
If a property owner is physically unable to clear their snow and no one who lives with them is physically able to, you know, I'm thinking of the elderly, people with disabilities, does the city have any sort of way of helping them other than just, you know, relying on neighbors or posting on Nextdoor, you know, whose teenager can I pay to clear my sidewalk?
Yeah, unfortunately, to my knowledge at least, and I've talked with other groups about this as well, we don't have, you know, if someone's unable to clear their snow, we really don't have that ability, you know, to send somebody to clear it. I know other municipalities I've talked with, you know, they have started programs where they have high school students that, you know, for volunteer work to shovel sidewalks. But you know, every instance is different. You know, it's difficult for students to get out there and clear snow sometimes under, you know, harsh winter conditions as well. So it's never a one size fits all that we can fix this. You know, but it is, you know, it is unfortunately it's an issue that, you know, I don't know if any municipality has solved that issue because you know, you look around with other municipalities and it's always an issue, sidewalk clearance. How do you, you know, keep up with maintaining a clear sidewalk, and especially if they're physically unable to, it's definitely something that is a concern. And, you know, every instance is different, but unfortunately we don't have a way of, you know, dispersing a crew to take care of that under that circumstance. So everyone, I wish we did, but right now we just don't have that type of contingency right now.
Totally. I mean, I think about this as a homeowner because we were away on vacation and there was supposed to be a lot of snow. And I was like, oh God, you know, I would hate for someone to slip on my sidewalk or not be able to get through.
Right.
You know, and now I have to figure out like that I'm going to call someone or ask or like rely on the good graces of friends to clear my sidewalk. Or in my case, you know, I got in Saturday night and got up Sunday at 8:30 to shovel before work. You know,
Right. That was nice of you to do that. Yeah.
I
Yeah,
think
everyone's
that's my
it's
obligation
different.
as a homeowner in the city of Norwalk.
Right. And some
But
people,
I mean, you're welcome, but it's my job. I bought a
you
home.
know, you were on vacation. Other people, they could be snowbirds and don't live here during the winter time. You know, that's another instance that could happen as well. So, yeah, I'm not sure from, you know, how it's handled. You know, every instance is different, but I'm not sure, you know, once the investigation begins and, you know, they hand out if they do hand out the fine, you know, if there is a way to kind of, you know, push back on the fine as well. I'm not sure what that case is like. So, but in the past few years, we really haven't had to deal with it very much because it snowed and didn't snow much, and then it melted by, you know, 2 days later. So may have needed to find a mechanism for the future.
Totally. I have just one more little thing on this, which is I'm wondering, and you might not know this, Greg, this might not be something that comes across your desk, but as the city looks to add more sidewalks, is this something where you get pushback from homeowners because they say, well, now I'll be responsible for a sidewalk if you put one in front of my property?
We do. You know, we do get the pushback when we have public meetings, especially where we're putting a sidewalk where there wasn't a sidewalk before, or there was a footpath, which in the city ordinance doesn't technically quantify as a sidewalk, so it doesn't need to be cleared. So whenever we upgrade from footpath to sidewalk, that could also occur. But we don't want that to dictate not putting sidewalks in, you know, because of snowstorms. You know, that may or may not happen, you know, to the degree that it may used to have happened, or, you know, we still need safe passage for pedestrians, especially, with school, as many schools as we have in the area, pretty much every road is like an access route to schools. Especially if you look at the map of Norwalk and looking at the walkability to each school and the streets, the map they all kind of verge together when you do a watershed of each school. So that's what our goal, and with complete streets, is getting as many sidewalks in as we can.
I remain optimistic that someday my future kids will have more sidewalks than I do now. This is great.
We're working towards that. Yes.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you, Becca. Okay, I'm going to move on to our next agenda item because I do see in the attendees we have, I believe it's Tracy Walker who's joined us, and she is a representative of the CT State Norwalk Physical Activity Subcommittee. So Darlene, I know Tracy may want to say a quick word or two about her role and her contributions to our efforts for bike safety and education training. So Tracy, if you are here, I would love, to have you introduce yourself.
Perfect, thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. Yeah, I didn't know what would happen when I got home with all my stuff. Okay, so hello to everyone. I just wanted to let you guys know and give you a little update that the Wellness Committee at CT State Norwalk is collaborating with Julia, I believe it is, and Emily in trying to help promote community events and do those promotions and hopefully hold some events on campus. When Emily and I met the other day, we discussed the potential for, I guess you guys are holding an upcoming event on the green in Norwalk on the 26th of April. So we were looking to hold an in-classroom road safety, I guess, for you guys on the, I think it's the 15th, if I'm not mistaken, of April, and then the 22nd to actually have, a portion of the parking lot blocked off so that you guys could come in with your instructor. I believe his name is Chaz from Sound Cyclists, if I'm not mistaken, and do the rest of the road safety course to be able to get people to the event safely on the 26th. So I was actually in touch today with our ADCO, and they are going to, I'm going to meet with him tomorrow at noon to discuss the possibility and how we go through getting those approvals moving forward for that for you guys. I apologize, I'm losing my voice. I taught for about 7 hours today. And then we also discussed partnering to do some pop-up maintenance tents type thing on campus from, I believe, May through August. So May, June, July, and August, or to have somebody there, I guess, inflating tires, helping with maybe chains that need to be oiled, just basically doing some pop-up maintenance on campus. So again, that's something that I will go through the ADCO with and get approval for all those things with you guys. And then what else did we talk about, Emily? We did the possibility of, we're going to do a wellness walk with Julia, I believe, hopefully on the 26th of March. And that will be our inaugural walk on campus on our walking path that we have, our wellness walk. Since Julia does the Wellness Wednesdays, we figured it would be nice if she came and did our inaugural spring walk to start the spring off after spring break for the students. So we would love to have you guys on campus to do that. And I think lastly, what we did, we talked about possibly in the fall, sometime end of September, early October, doing another event where we would potentially, reach out to possibly the Norwalk Police Department. I know you guys have partnered, I think, with Qantas in the past, Emily said, in possibly getting like bike donations or bike refurbishing and bring them on campus to do a learn to ride, maybe, session with kids in the area and the community and on campus, even adults, and children, all that don't know how to ride bikes, and try to do something there for the fall. We just kind of pushed that out a little further so that we had some more time to try and plan that kind of stuff. But again, because we have to actually be involved being part of the wellness committee, I'm going straight to the source of the ADCO because I think we'll have quicker turnaround in getting things planned and getting you guys all the permits to be on campus, and not have to physically like stand over you over the event or the maintenance if we have a class and we're unable to be there if the times don't work. But overall, we're looking forward to working and collaborating with you guys.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Tracy. Yeah, and these are great conversations that we're having, and I'm excited to get started, especially with the upcoming Earth Day event. On that note, our other item here, like you mentioned, Chaz Foster, who I don't think is available to join tonight, offered to run or lead those bike safety courses for family-friendly, just introduction to biking and best practices leading up to our Norwalk Earth Day bike ride. So thank you for connecting us, and I'm hoping to get those finalized and scheduled for April. And then Jalea, I'm glad you're here too, because we didn't have the chance to all connect, you, Tracy, and I, but we did talk about the wellness walks, like Tracy mentioned, and hoping that March 26th, if that date works for you, having a Wednesday wellness walk at the college on that day.
Yeah, this all sounds great, Emily. And I'm gonna check my calendar to see my availability, but I'm excited for all of this.
Excellent.
Perfect. Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you. Any other commissioners with a question for Tracy?
Oh, hi, it's Christine. Sorry. Hi, Tracy.
Hi, Christine. How are you?
Hi, good. I'm one of the commissioners. Sorry, I was in transition, so I was on the phone, but I'm back. And yeah, you mentioned something called ADCO a couple times. What does the acronym stand for?
It's just the administration of like community kind of events. So they're gonna make sure that like if we need like the insurance policies or the areas blocked off, they just have
Gotcha.
to approve everything. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yep.
Great. Then with that, Tracy, I think that'll be all for now for CT State Norwalk. Thank you so much for joining us tonight and taking the time
Thank
to
you
talk
so
with us.
much. I'll be in touch tomorrow.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you.
The last item I have here on the bike safety training and education update is with Christine. You have an update for us on the LCI training.
Thank you. I shared with you today, Emily, a flyer. So Julia is going to be participating in a class that I'm holding. Is it possible you can share the flyer? Yeah. Please.
Yes, let me grab that from my email. Sorry, one moment. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, thank you. Sorry for the background noise. Anyway, so, and Julia, thank you for working with the health department to get this to happen, because we need the health department to be open after 5 o'clock. So yeah, it's just anybody here is invited to participate. And yeah, it's the intro class that the League of American Bicyclists have that I'm trained to teach. And so yeah, and this is gonna set up Julia for the LCI seminar the weekend in the beginning of April in New Haven.
Excellent. Do any commissioners have questions? Oh, Becca, I see your hands raised.
Is this training free to attend?
Is it free to attend? Yes, it's free to attend.
Super.
I should put that on the flyer, I guess. Yeah, free to attend, but I'm
Yeah,
limiting
I-
it at 5
We can only
people.
see the first half of it, I believe. So
No, there's nothing there that says free. I can add that though, but this is really internal for commissioners, health department employees. Because I'm really gonna cap it at 5
oh, I
students.
see. This is not open to the public. Great.
Well, I mean, kind of, but it's not closed. If there's somebody from the public that somebody here, you know, wants to recommend, or somebody they know is interested, yeah, as long as it's, you know, just 5 students. But yeah, anybody here, I mean, obviously to have commissioners, you know, that would be ideal.
Christine, just to confirm, this is a prerequisite, right? Training to the LCI training. So in order for Julia to complete the league certified instructor training that she will be attending in person in New Haven, she has to complete this set of hours with a certified instructor, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then my other point, and I love that you invited our commissioners. I think I would love to attend as well and get this training. I think it might be nice to, I think it's a good idea to cap it at 5 as well. One thought I had was, can we invite maybe the Norwalk Police Department e-bike riders? I don't know if, and I've been meaning to, I know you've connected with them in the past. Would it be worth reaching out to them and seeing if there are any officers or other members of the Norwalk Health Department, or Greg, if there was anyone within TMP that would be interested in doing this training?
I was gonna share the flyer with my colleagues to see if anyone was interested, especially in the community health division, since we do health education. So yeah, so I'm gonna share it to the health department folks. But I know space is very limited, so Christine, I'm not
Well,
exactly sure how you
I
wanna.
mean, I think that's that group and the commissioners here are priority. So, I mean, if, you know, we have like, I don't know, Nick, Becca, Emily, Manny want to do this and can do this, it has to be, it's it's 2 days. It's one afternoon and then and one morning. So you have to do both, because the first part is a classroom lesson. And then the second part is outside in the parking lot. Hopefully the weather will cooperate. And then there's parking lot drills, and then it's a road ride. So anybody who does this, and I should put this on the flyer, but because it's an internal, Julie, if you want to share this, somebody has to have a helmet and a bike in working condition.
That was my next question. I assumed it was the case, but do we have to make it clear that participants must provide their own bicycle?
Correct. And right. And the helmet, and it has to be in working condition. Yes. And they also are going to be signing a waiver.
Do they just need the bicycle for the second lesson or for both lessons?
So that's a good question. I mean, no, you don't have to have it for the first lesson. No. But we do kind of talk about the bike in the first lesson. But no. We can use the bike as a demo. I'll have my bike.
It would also be nice if both the graphics showed people wearing helmets. Just to lead from the top.
Well, so thank you. And I told I had somebody help me with this, and I said with the helmet on, so we missed that. But this is the first, this is not going out. Julia, before you send this out, I'll fix this tomorrow with the helmet. Thank you, Becca, for pointing that out. It's been a long day, so this was done kind of quickly because I've been waiting to secure the location, and that just happened on the Friday night. So thank you. I'll fix that, and I'll add free.
Does it also say the address of the Norwalk Health Department in case people don't know?
Like I said, I mean, this is really just for us because Julia and I spoke, and she mentioned to me she was going to put it out to her colleagues. So
super.
Yeah.
Are there
I'm totally satisfied by that answer. No worries.
Okay. Are there any commissioners interested in attending the seminar with Christine and Julia?
The nature of my work does not allow me to guarantee my availability, unfortunately.
Yeah. If you want to think about it or let me know, as long as I have by sometime next week, the end of next week or the week after.
Okay. And then with that, like you said, you're going to revise the flyer and Julia will circulate it through the health department. Greg, is this something that anyone from TMP would be interested in attending or able to join?
I'll have to, like Julia said, with her department, I'll propose it to anyone in TMP and see if anyone's available
Well,
to.
yeah, and we only have 5, right? So Julia, I don't know what you're thinking, but I know your supervisor mentioned putting it out. So there may be people, that would be really nice if we have people from the health department and the commissioners. So, before, I don't know, Julia, if you can get some sort of an idea by next week. And then if we don't have 5 at that point without the commissioners or with your group, then I'll hand it off to Greg to distribute. How's that, Emily?
Okay. And then if it comes to it and we still have space, what are your thoughts on sending it to the Norwalk Police Department and seeing
So
if,
my thoughts about that is, they seem like they're probably trained, and also to take the time, it would be probably hard to free them up. I would like to maybe then put it out to, maybe Common Council.
over the safety cadets even,
Safety
Okay.
cadets.
like the Norwalk safety cadets. That's who I'm envisioning maybe would
You mean
be.
the police cadets? Yeah, like the kids with the police department, yeah. That's a thought.
Okay.
Well, actually, no. This is for adults right now. And the kids is a separate curriculum, so I'm looking for adults. Are you, you said you're interested, Emily? You think you're free?
I will have to confirm with you. It is during my 9 to 5 job, so I'll have to get approval before I say yes, but I am very interested in attending, yes.
Great.
Great. Okay. One last question I have just on the LCI training. Julia, were you able to confirm your spot in April in New Haven with Greg?
Yes, thanks to Greg today. We did end up registering, so I'm all set. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you, Julia.
Thank you. Okay, thank you, Christine. Moving on to our next agenda item, filling in the blanks. Manny, I was hoping you would talk quickly about our experience last month and just our ongoing partnership with this great organization.
So last month we had the chance to go to Filling in the Blanks and distribute literature on walking and bicycling safety. We also passed out bicycle locks and bike lights. And so it was, both Emily and I were there, and we felt like it was a really great experience. I think one of the great takeaways was just connecting to a completely different community and being able to inform people of who we are, as an extension of the city and as an organization, but also be able to share educational information. A lot of our information was primarily in Spanish, and there's also a lot of English speakers, but there were a lot of people who primarily spoke Spanish at the event. I also thought it was really great because it comes at the, it was good to be there because I think it was the week after that there was the bicyclist accident, and so just to hear people in the community share or there's one individual I got to talk with, and she mentioned, oh yeah, I knew this person, and that was really sad, and this segment of the population could really benefit from like cycling education and that sort of thing, and so I think that just I'm excited at the potential of just it opening up the opportunity for us to connect more and collaborate more with that organization and people that utilize their services in that part of the community. And we'll be attending again this weekend on the 7th, kind of doing the same thing, passing out literature, bike locks, and bike lights. And so I'm definitely looking forward to being there again.
Thank you so much, Manny. Any commissioners with questions or comments?
Yeah, Manny, did you say March 7th?
Yes, this weekend. Saturday, that is March 7th, right? Saturday.
March is 8th. Yep.
Oh, sorry, March.
Saturday, March
I'm
8th.
sorry, I'm getting my March days confused. Thank you for clarifying that, Christine.
Oh, no problem. And the hours again?
We arrive there at 8 a.m. and it goes from like 8 a.m. till 9:30, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I know, just quickly adding on, I know, Julia, you're not available this weekend, but we're excited to have you participate in April. And then there's the opportunity to get some more supplies from the Yankee Doodle Garage. So I know Nick had also reached out about coordinating a trip there. So Greg, I will be in touch with you about getting access to that this week before the event. Okay, almost done. So we have 2 agenda items left. The next one is our Norwalk Earth Day event, walks, rides, and bike valet. And we touched on this a little bit. Tracy Walker from CT State Norwalk offered to host the locations for the bike safety courses that are family friendly. We also have a volunteer, Chaz Foster from Sound Cyclists. And I think I see Brian Boland, who's also in attendance here tonight, who will be leading one of the bike rides on Earth Day. And Tracy Craighead as well is in attendance here, and she is organizing the event, the Norwalk Green Association, for the Norwalk Earth Day Festival. And so as the Bike Walk Commission, we're coordinating walks and bike rides, but ultimately we're really excited to have the bike valet service again as a free opportunity for people to ride to the event and park their bikes. And I will hand this off to Nick to talk more about coordinating that effort.
So for those of you who were around for the Earth Day event last year, the format that we're looking to do is going to be very similar. As I know currently, the table layout will be the same as last year, so you can expect our format to be almost identical to what it was last year. I'll be sending out some documentation to kind of outline how the bike valet service works, the logistics of it. And in that effect, I'll be looking for some commissioner volunteers to help man the table on the day of. It's something that I don't necessarily need answers right here, right now, but it'll probably be a 2-hour commitment from the hours of 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on that day, April 26th. Gonna coordinate transportation supplies as well, but that's something that's a later thing that needs to get figured out, because that's going to be more towards when the event's coming near. So yeah, just if you aren't already planning to attend that event, I'll ask commissioners to plan to put 2 hours of the day to help out with this. And I'm looking to also get some volunteers from the community and our friends of the Bike Walk Commission, just to make sure there's more eyes on people's bikes and ensure that they don't get taken away without our supervision.
Thank you, Nick. Any questions or comments from other commissioners on the Norwalk Earth Day event, rides or valet? Okay. And moving on to our last item here, which is budget spend. Greg, I don't know if you have anything to preface this with. I know we did make the purchase, like you mentioned earlier, with Julia for the league certified instructor from our micro grant spending, correct? Right?
Yeah, I think just, just emphasizing that we need to spend this money. I know I keep harping on it and I don't mean to, but both the city budget that you have and the active transportation micro grant, we need to start spending the money now. It's March, it'll be April, it'll be May, and then before you know it, we're scrambling in June trying to spend the money on the city side before July 1. Well, actually before June 30th. That doesn't mean you have to spend the money by June 30th. That means that you have to actually buy the product and pay for the items. So we usually don't pay for the items until they get delivered to the city. So take that into account as well. So I just want to overemphasize again, get your quotes, submit them so we can get the procurement process started on the city side. And that goes for the active transportation micro grant as well as the city budget that you all have. The remaining money that was left over from last year, Jim was able to get that money carried over to this year. We can't guarantee that again for this year. So just please get some quotes and start spending the money on both grant items, grant and account and city capital accounts that you guys have.
Perfect. Thank you, Greg. Yeah, we'll try our best to get this done and well before June, hopefully. On that note, I just marked, this is the spreadsheet that Nick put together for us. Thank you, Nick. From our grant specifically, we do have money allocated to spend for bike helmets and bike locks. Nick, are you taking on getting quotes for these two items? Is that correct?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Perfect. And then I'm happy to work with, I believe, Amy Watkins from Watch for Me CT has designs in place for brochures. So I'm going to work with her to see those for the brochures for these bike safety classes, to get them printed. And then the last item here, the special events permit. I don't recollect. Nick, do you remember what this one is for micro grant?
Yeah, in the event that we want to table or provide bike valet at a community event that will require us to pay a registration fee, we can use this money from the micro grant rather than using it from our own city budget.
Okay. Becca, go ahead.
I have two things. What is the total amount that we were allocated in the micro grant? Like how much was it for?
It was for like 40, just under 4,800.
Super. So it's all been earmarked for spending.
Yes, correct. And there's it's non-infrastructure related items, and what we applied for in the grant based on what the commission wanted to spend, as Emily has in the spreadsheet. Those are the items that we need to utilize to purchase.
Super. Oh, and yep, and there's the one idea that I was going to suggest, which is that we should try to expedite high vis vests so that we have them to wear on Earth Day to make us very recognizable and cool.
So, and we do have those, yeah, already done and paid for and in the Yankee Doodle garage.
Oh, sure. How many do we have?
Oh, Nick, do you remember offhand how many?
I don't remember offhand.
At least, oh, Greg,
I ordered 10, I believe.
10. Okay.
Super.
Yeah.
They were great. And Manny, thank you you brought some for our event at Filling in the Blanks, and they have our logo on it. They turned out beautifully. So I'm excited to keep using those. That's a great idea. So then I guess on that note, Nick, I know we worked a little bit on prioritizing these items. And if we do want, like Greg kindly reminded us, to start spending now so we're not feeling pressure towards the end of May, June. One thought I had for spending or allocating spending starting now is the Bike to Work Week events in May. I know last year we organized tables and offered coffee, so foods and drinks to people who were riding or walking to work. We partnered with CT Rides and having some budget for providing those just free handouts in addition to educational brochures and things like that, but having some budget spent here and now for food and drink for Bike to Work Week. The other things that are in the work, and other commissioners, feel free to chime in if there's updates on any of these. The speaker event, so we are looking for some sort of speaking event that would be at a local place like the library or something like that. And I haven't gotten any quotes on that yet, but I will try my best to have at least one for the next meeting. Again, these are not accurate costs. This is just an estimate. The other thing we talked about was bike mechanic training for the city or commissioner. The other thing that we mentioned was the Open Streets event, which I think we talked about in our last meeting. So we can either reallocate this budget to a smaller event or support other open street events that the city already has with, Visit Norwalk, for example, the Sono Arts Festival, or having, bike related events combined into some existing open street events. And then additionally, the bike taillights and bike headlights, and getting another quote for that. I guess with all of that said, are there any commissioners that would be willing to bring quotes to our next meeting on any of these items, or prioritizing certain ones of these suggestions here? Becca?
On the subject of Bike to Work Week, I wonder if, in order to sort of highlight the multimodality of transportation, we could look at partnering with local businesses. I'm thinking specifically of when I bought tea this morning at Black by Demand at the Sono train station. If maybe like one of our giveaways could be like that we could work with, I don't know the owner's name, but she's awesome. If we could like work with her to like buy like 100 drink tickets from her essentially, and you turn one in and you get a free small coffee at the train station or something like that. So that we're supporting a local Black owned business that directly caters to, multimodal commuters. So that's something that if you prove that you got here without parking your car at Sono Garage, you get a free coffee type thing.
I really like the sound of that. Absolutely. I think, yeah, in prior years, we've, gone to Costco and Dunkin' Donuts, but I really like the idea of supporting our small local businesses here.
Well,
So-
I will try to talk to her this week when I'm there
If you
at
could-
6:12 a.m. tomorrow.
Excellent. And Greg, just to be super clear, what we would need is a quote and maybe 2 to 3 quotes on food and drink. Is it applicable to that, or is there a certain number?
I
like
mean,
a-
as long as it's under a certain amount, so if it's under, especially something for food and drink like that, as long as it's under, I mean, if it's under like $500, that could be something that's just purchased, especially if it's just for food and drink and beverages, and refreshments, stuff like that. Once you start getting up in the $1,000 range, that's when quotes will be needed.
Great, thank you. Any other thoughts or comments from other commissioners about how we can spend our budget effectively?
And one more thing, Emily, too, if I could just chime in real quick. If there's like a purchase for something, like if you got, say you spent like, $100, $200 on something and, we don't have the time to do a formal procurement process with the city and pay for the item. We also do there can also be a reimbursement process as well. If someone's comfortable enough putting on their own car, we've done it in the past where they spent the money, we got the receipt, and then the city reimbursed for that purchase through the commission as well. So there's always that option as well if it's a lower cost item such as refreshments like that.
Perfect, thank you.
That's actually a good point that raises a question for me. If we were to go about it in like a non-reimbursement capacity, would we have to like set up some sort of way for you or some other person within the city to like, I don't know, use some kind of credit card to like pay for the food and drink ahead of time if we wanted to forgo the reimbursement process and like just have it come straight from the city?
Yeah, we can do that, and that's what Julia and I did for her LCI training, where we put it on the credit card, and then it was just something that was reimbursed through the grant process. So that's also a possibility as well.
All right, that's good to know. Thank you.
On that note, Nick, do you need any budget spend on any support for the bike valet, like transportation supplies or anything like that?
I think that so long as we can confirm that we have lawn signs in the closet, there shouldn't be any need for any more spend on that.
Okay.
So for going back to the Bike to Work Week item, do we want to hold off on trying to get that approved until we can get an idea of pricing to see what it'd take for like getting some kind of gift card or voucher from the business at the Sono train station?
I think that's a good idea. Do other commissioners have any thoughts on that? Yes, we don't, I mean, aside from uh, Christine, the LCI training, we don't have any immediate events coming up until April and our next meeting there. And so my goal is to have some quotes for our meeting in April. If I had to pick from our budget items here, and again, these are just proposed items, I'm open to suggestions. I will try my best to personally get the speaker event options and quotes for that. Becca, you mentioned you'll work on the Bike to Work Week food and drink tickets. Christine, you and I talked briefly. Would you be open to getting quotes for bike mechanic training from Smart Cycles and REI?
Yeah, sure.
Perfect. For our next meeting in April?
Now I understand.
Perfect, thank you. And then I have the bike taillights and headlights as well. And I know in the past we've done this through Smart Cycles. Is this something that we want to approve to have for events going forward? I know it's at the bottom of our priority list here, but if we had to vote on something to start spending today on, I mean, that might be, what are other commissioners' thoughts on that?
Well, I have,
Oh, go ahead.
I have a question, a couple questions. So I'm just gonna say what they are and then we can talk, I guess. So the helmets on the other page, like, my question is, how come we didn't spend that, and were we looking for quotes on the helmets? I mean, we've had that money for a year and we haven't bought helmets because we didn't need them. I'm not clear on that. The second thing is, we talked about getting it. Can we still add to this other list, Emily? Yeah, so if you want to respond to this and then I'll go back here, whichever. You want to respond about the helmet?
So, yes, Nick is on getting quotes for helmets and locks. And then, yes, this is
Do we
something
have
that is
helmets?
just proposed.
Do we have helmets?
We
Left?
still have some kids' helmets in the Yankee Doodle garage.
I see.
And I believe when Manny and Nick are able to go and coordinate a time with Greg, we'll have a better idea of our inventory
Yeah,
and what we have.
all right, and then, the other thing is, we've talked about having like a tent for events, like a canopy, like for the shade and stuff. Okay, can we add to this list here?
We can add to this list. Yes, I shared this with our, it's in the shared drive for
Yeah.
our
Okay.
commissioners.
Okay,
If you
so,
would,
okay, well,
I'm
I
happy
can
to
add to that. We've talked about it before with the sun and, the other thing is, schlepping all this stuff from that Yankee Doodle garage. I mean, it's too bad we can't put some money and have rent a, well, I don't know what the easiest way around all that would be, buy a truck, buy a pickup truck, I don't know. But, or a wagon, like for things. Do we have a wagon to cart things around? We do, right? We have a wagon.
No, I'm smiling because Manny has a wagon.
Okay.
But
also
also,
have
but
a wagon.
I love the wagon idea. It would be nice to have a bike walk wagon. I think to answer your previous question too, we've talked about just how we're storing stuff. I mean, we're so grateful to TMP for sharing that space in the Yankee Doodle garage, especially with the bike valet poles that are very long. It's hard to fit those in a sedan. So having access to a vehicle and a mode of transportation to transport those is pretty critical. I don't know how, if we want to tie that into ad spend, but to your other question, which I agree, access to a tent. We have a very nice volunteer, Phil Kaya, who has with the Norwalk Bike Co-op supplies, a tent and table and bike repair tools that he's offered to supply us for our events. It's just having the mechanic there and available to use them. So we do have access to those things through volunteers, but if the commission wanted to spend money on that, I'm open to listening and hearing from other commissioners with their thoughts on that. If there are any thoughts.
Yeah, even though we kind of luck out with having someone that can provide a tent, it's worth considering just having our own. You can say something similar for like a table. Every time that we have an event, one of us usually has a table or can find a table, but it's worth considering getting one that's designated for our own. And once we start buying these literally larger items, we just have to be conscious of the space they will take and the transportation from the space in the closet to the event.
Right. Okay. So I guess with that, and we have about 4 minutes left in our call here. Any last thoughts or items that I guess we do need some quotes and a little follow-up, but by April, we should have some formalized items to vote on for budget spend. If that sounds good to the rest of the team here.
Yeah, especially for some of the couple last items on the list, I would be more comfortable approving the spend after we get a better idea of our closet inventory.
Perfect. Thank you, Nick.
I just wanted to
Okay.
highlight, I don't know if anybody noticed, but Tracy Craig had her hand raised. I don't know if she,
Oh, yes, thank you, Manny. Hi, Tylene, would you mind unmuting Tracy so she can give comment? Hi, Tracy, if you're there, you should be able to speak now.
Oh, hi. I'm sorry. We've been listening and I just had my hand up earlier. I guess it went up again by accident. But I just want to say, going back to the conversation around Earth Day, we're just so excited to have all the support of everyone who's here tonight and just of the Bike Walk Commission all around. That's all. So thanks for what you're doing to make it such a successful event. Thanks.
Thank you, Tracy. Sorry about that.
No worries.
Okay, then with that, we got through all of our items here on the agenda. Can I entertain a motion to adjourn? Becca? Thank you. A second?
I'll second.
Manny, Nick? Great. All in favor? Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Tylene and Greg, for joining, and have a great night, everyone.
Have a great night.
Bye.
Bye.